New York Jets trade up reaction in the fourth round, pick 130, safety Malachi Moore from Alabama, a true free safety, number 156 on the overall Badlands big board. Meegs, PK, our first Muji draft day trade. So we're condensing the total number of picks as they now only have two left after this. So as it stands now, we'll react after those two picks are bundled together. They move up about 15 or so spots. I think it was they ultimately gave up like their late sixth round pick. But let's start with the player with Moore. So now it's two of the last three picks have been in the secondary. We all remain confused about what the hell is going on with Brandon Steves and how much money they gave him. Meegs, talk about Moore, and then PK, you jump in.
So Malachi Moore, I think the thing that jumps out to you is that they needed a body in the safety room, and now they have two guys who actually make plays on the ball with him and Cisco. I think it's important to remember with Alabama this year, they had so many younger bodies playing in the secondary this year. Caleb Downs, obviously after when Nick Saban transferred, when Nick Saban retired, Caleb Downs transferred from Alabama. They played a lot of freshmen. Moore was kind of like the one real veteran they had in the secondary group, so he had a lot of responsibility, and they really trusted him. So that's an important thing. He got on the field all 4 years at Alabama. He played a ton in the box. He played a ton deep. He has a lot of experience actually even playing in the nickel. So versatile guy, not the best athlete, but played a ton of football, multiple time team captain. Just one of those day three picks where like I don't think he's necessarily like we call like a dart thrower, where like, well, he could really be something. He just seems like a guy who is like, if you're trying to find like a functional body, safety two, safety three that you're looking for, this is the kind of guy that, while it doesn't have like the crazy upside, is probably just a guy you're going to be okay sticking on the roster for their entire rookie contract.
Yeah, I'd say good night, Tony Adams, probably.
Yeah.
So as far as this pick goes, the first thing that popped into my head, just like after the Thomas pick, was I was like, okay, what is Brandon Stevens? I got on here last night and I took a victory lap for saying I stuck to Brandon Stevens being a safety. And then, less than 24 hours later, that's gone again, and I have no idea what's going on. So, ton of bodies in the secondary now. I think with this guy specifically, Saban trusted him a lot. Saban had him play that star position in the Alabama defense when he was still there, and that's essentially like the Mike of Saban's defense, right? He's making calls. You're asked to do a lot of different things. It's not a pure you're a free or a strong or a nickel. Like it's kind of a little bit of everything, like Meegs was alluding to. Super smart guy, super heady player. He's not going to like kill people tackling. He's like a reliable tackler, but he's not a big hitter. One of my friends texted me as soon as they made the pick, like Jamal Adams, and I was like, no, I don't think so. Like this is a different thing than that. This guy can cover. He's not going to lay crazy big hits. He's versatile, right? And so I think, again, we've talked a lot about trying to figure out the patterns and themes that are developing with an Aaron Glenn Muji-led organization. And we've noted young, right? Now we have another one, versatile, right? They like bodies who can do a bunch of different things, especially in the secondary. Apparently, you have Stevens with positional flexibility. You have Sauce and A.Z. Thomas, who are kind of pure outside press man corners. But then the rest of the guys that you have back there can kind of float around and play a few different positions. Cisco can play both safety spots. Malachi can play, a little bit of everything, including nickel. And you have Stevens, who has played both safety and corner at the NFL level. So I think we probably have another pattern developing here with the Glenn and Muji system.
I think big programs too, right? LSU, Alabama, Georgia. I think the fact that Saban trusted him in that role, I am sure that is something that helped get Glenn and everyone in that room excited to have that type of brain in the secondary, and someone that, as a fourth round pick will probably have a very real chance to start next to Cisco if they're going to play more traditional positions and stick to their word and say, week one, our starting corners are Sauce and Stevens, and Thomas is our top outside backup. Carter's the slot. We're going to have Cisco and we're going to have Malachi as the safeties because Tony Adams just isn't very good, and this guy will have more athleticism. I mean, Tony Adams was a UDFA for a reason, right? We'll see if they make any other moves beyond that, but I do still think this is going to be a group due to the athleticism. There'll be a lot of fluidity in how they use their players in the secondary. I think they're going to mix and match in different nickel and dime looks. I think guys like Stevens, Thomas, and even Cisco and this pick are going to have the ability to bounce around between strong free safety, slot, and I think they're going to want that type of fluidity and flexibility of people who play in the secondary. So from a value POV, this lines up much, much more than the Arian Smith pick. This is a guy we had 156 in our overall big board. I think he was like the 10th or 11th safety. But consensus big board, like late fourth, generally makes sense for this guy. And clearly the Jets wanted him, right? This is the first time they've been proactive to go get someone. And the fact that it was a very clear safety and free safety, maybe again says they just think Thomas is an outside corner and they think Stevens is a little bit of a ball of clay and they don't know exactly where he's going to go yet because now it's, two of your last three are in the secondary. And look, the Jets very well may look at this class and say, we don't want to leave with 10 players from this class. We want to have more picks next year, but this is not a class we need 10 players from. We'll have the undrafted free agent process. Let's take that late 6th round pick, which is basically a glorified UDFA, and go get someone we feel really good about. And they're on track right now to leave with 7 players, which is kind of like the standard baseline. And I don't expect that. I'm famous last words, of course, but that's about what I expect them to leave with. And I think if anything, they leave with 6, not 8 or 9. And I think they're okay with that. And maybe next year is the year they try to get 8 or 9. So any final thoughts on the trade up and the selection, Meegs?
So the trade up I thought was good. Like, being able to move up 15 picks in the 4th round and it costing you like the back end of the pick where I think it was a good thing that they had 2 5th-round picks, so you didn't have to package both of them, and you didn't even have to use your higher 6th-round pick. You got to use the one in the 200. So as far as, just playing the value, playing the trade chart, I think that is encouraging, which is what you definitely want to see from a new regime, that they understand at least how to move around the board in some capacity because, they've been in these war rooms before, but when you have the keys, you still want to see it. And said, the secondary, they have a lot of bodies. They have a lot of players. I don't think the Jets' overall secondary has it's been the strength of the team the past couple of years. Safety was a glaring issue that needs to get better, and we think they have 6 defensive backs now, like 5 plus Tony Adams, where we feel relatively good about. And these next 2 picks, you're just hoping probably one's a defensive tackle, and then do they get another tight end? Do they get another receiver?
Tackle, for God's sake? I'm going to lose my mind if they don't get a defensive tackle at some point. That's the only thing I'll loudly complain about. If we get to the end of day 3 and they don't add a single defensive tackle out of this class, it feels inconceivable that one of those last two picks wouldn't be that. I'll also put a little salt in the wound that Royals went 3 picks after the Chiefs. It'll be interesting to watch in that offense. But the individual vacuum of this selection, I like it meaningfully more than the previous pick. I will also remind people, and I'll sign off with this because I don't want these reaction ones to get too long, is that from a fan perspective, if you 100% love every day 3 pick, you're probably going to be wrong about 8 out of 10 times. Like, most of these guys are not going to be good. Now, some of them probably will be good. We could end up being totally wrong. You could end up being totally wrong as a fan, but there should be some healthy skepticism and debate around these picks because it's start throw day. This isn't day 1. This isn't day 2. Every pick the Jets make should not be like, oh my God, that was a genius slam dunk. Just like on the other end, every pick shouldn't be like, oh my God, this is a disaster, because we are truly into the range now where it's it's very hard to say who knows. And if one of the two of Moore and Smith plays any amount of meaningful games for the Jets, that's generally a positive in how you're handling the early part of day 3. So if Moore becomes a starting safety at some point this year, but Smith is inactive and a punt gunner, okay, that's league average, at least in terms of what you're getting from day 3. So don't drive yourself too crazy, I think is what I'm saying as a fan today.
Yeah, so last 3 things I'll leave you with here, 3 quick ones. So technically on the trade chart, originally, by the way, this was the Brian Burns pick from the Brian Burns trade. So it's changed hands a bunch of times, but originally that was the Brian Burns pick there. And so technically on the trade value chart, they lost 8 points. But again, if you're going up to get a guy you want, 8 points doesn't matter. 8 points is a 6th round pick. It doesn't matter. So good there. I think it was a great call out on the big school thing, the big power program thing, especially when you tie it in with the famous Aaron Glenn speech from Hard Knocks, where he was addressing the guys in the room who went to Ohio State and saying, when's the last time you lost a bunch of games in a row? And then he says, it's time to get that feeling back, man. Right. So like when you tie that into Aaron Glenn's personality, he's trying to get people who are accustomed to winning into the building, which is a great thing. And the last one I'll leave you with is one of Malachi Moore's good strengths is coverage recognition, not only pre-snap, but post-snap. He's really good at baiting quarterbacks. And so I think he could probably bring a little bit of turnover ability into the back end with his smarts by being able to play too deep and try to, sitting in zone and try to bait a quarterback over here and then be able to jump a route. And so I think we're developing kind of a profile what the defense looks like too, right? With press man on the outside and then zone over the middle with the deep safeties. So interesting to kind of read into some of that stuff, but I don't know. Can't complain about this one.
Nope. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As it stands now, we will see you after pick 186, which should be the Jets' last pick, where we'll talk about their final 2 selections.